A lot of these NFL teams are making a lot of moves today to get ready for the NFL season. They're cutting a lot of players. They're putting a lot of players on injured reserve in the PUP. Jonathon Brooks is going to be missing the start of the season due to his knee injury. He should be back somewhere middle of the year, latter part of the year, and we're looking at him for fantasy football. But the big news right now is what to do with Chuba Hubbard. And we're also going to talk about Miles Sanders. We're going to do a deep dive on them today to see whether or not you need them in fantasy football. We're going to throw in Miles Sanders just in case you're in a deeper league. Talk about him a little bit. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're talking about these players every day. We're looking at the metrics. We're looking at what they're doing on the field. We're doing deep dives. We're doing player lists. In season, we'll be doing more deep dives for the waiver wire and depth chart changes as guys get benched and moved up the depth chart. You need to click that subscribe button right now. Just move your thumb over a little bit and stop missing out. But Chuba Hubbard is the next man up with Jonathon Brooks going down for the start of the season. And we were guessing that anyways. A lot of people were guessing that, not just us. But Jonathon Brooks going to miss at least the next 4 weeks. And Brooks, a tremendous talent, good yards after contact per attempt, very electric between the tackles, a guy you might want to think about as a lottery ticket stash on your fantasy team. But Chuba Hubbard steps right in, looks like he's going to get a bulk of the workload like he did last year. It might be fantasy relevant for you. And right now, he's super cheap. And looking at this backfield, Mike Boone's cut today. Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard next in line right behind Jonathon Brooks. Talking about Miles Sanders, he's a guy to pay attention to as well because we saw him in training camp looking good with some pop in the step. Might be a guy that surprises you a little bit, but probably not enough to be fantasy relevant or to win you weeks. But going back to Chuba Hubbard and what he did last year, averaged 10.7 points per game, also had some big moments. But when you look at the draft costs, and what you were seeing in the back end of the season, he can be productive for you. And then looking at the touches, he can handle a big workload. But Miles Sanders is also there. He was dealing with some injuries last year. He does have some pop in the step. And this is a new coaching staff. They added some new wide receivers, some new weapons to the offense. Things are going to be vastly different. So there could be a split here. But if you're in a deep league, and you're just scumming for stuff off the bottom of the floor in the ocean, Miles Sanders could be a guy to look at, and he could surprise us. He could surprise us. That could potentially happen. That's why I'm throwing him out there. Plus, I don't want to do a full video on Miles Sanders, so there you go. Chuba Hubbard. The ADP is on the rise. I'm not the only one thinking about this. People have been saying this with how they've been drafting him, where they're putting their money at. They've been putting money on Chuba Hubbard. He was going round 14, round 15 range about a month and a half ago. Round 13 right now, and I believe he's going to go up a little bit. I believe, especially when you look at multi-site ADP averaged out between ESPN, Yahoo, NFL.com, and all the big sites here. Round 12 right now, and with the news being official, expect him to go up a little bit more because what about him versus Zach Charbonnet, him versus the quarterbacks, him versus those wide receivers? You're seeing him getting touches with the first few weeks of the season, and I'm not the only one saying this. This is where people are drafting and putting their money at, or mock drafts. The one prior with the Underdog, people are really putting money down on that. That's why you kind of want to look at that as well. Plus, the charts let you know that his value is going up in drafts. It's going to go up a little bit more over the week. You do not have true ADP on him, and you won't, especially if you're drafting in the backyard. I imagine round 10 to 12 range. Somewhere around there. Really depends on your draft. But also, we got a new coaching staff there. So, what we look at in terms of pace of play and efficiency, going to look vastly different. We got Bryce Young going into year 2. They made good investments into the offensive line. That being said, this could be a sneaky spot. If you want production for the first few weeks out of the season, you don't need him because you don't care about him. You're good at running back. You're going other places for your lottery ticket running backs, or you rather get a lottery ticket running back. You're not into him. You rather get Miles Sanders on the cheap. You don't want this. You're not into it, and I understand. But you want cheap running back touches. That's all I'm going to say. He's cheap running back touches. I'm not going to guarantee a production. I don't think you can guarantee production. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a split. But These are going to be some cheap touches to get for your fantasy team. And touches can turn into fantasy points because you got to touch the ball to be able to score fantasy points. And the big thing to do in your drafts, especially if you're into Jonathon Brooks, get your Jonathon Brooks, stash him. If you can put him on your IR spot, if your league allows that, cool. And on top of that, get you a Chuba as the cuff to him. That way you got the Carolina backfield locked down for the start of the season. And then once Jonathon Brooks comes in, you're good to go. You can catch and release Chuba Hubbard or even Miles Sanders if you went that route. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One, thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video.